only from some of the things I heard and some of the things that I learned and certain things that I was able to offer, and that right now our district is doing fairly well in terms of our membership growth and new club growth. And so tonight I'm in a fairly good mood as I talk to you about this business of increasing our club membership. Now, I know this is something that I'm beginning to sound like a broken record on, and those of you who have attended other webinars and presentations that I'm giving, some of the slides are going to look familiar. I hope to be presenting some new material to you tonight and also to reinvigorate you as we make our quest in this season of Talk Up Toastmasters. So please bear with me, and I am going to, in 1 second here, ask Carolyn to make me the presenter. Carolyn, if you would, thank you. So if you see here, we say keep talking. That's the Talk Up Toastmasters part, and the make guests say wow. This is relevant to the wow factor, which was initiated in January here from Toastmasters International. And the two actually sync perfectly for us in District 45 and our approach to things. So I just wanted to say I needed to amend this because we don't want just our guests to say, wow, we want everyone, because all of our members need to be exhilarated and excited about a meeting. And that's not just baloney, it is actually what we need for this membership retention, because as we're coming up to a dues renewal period, the last thing any club wants is to lose members. So we need to reinvigorate ourselves, make sure that we're inclusive, and keep building, but building also includes retaining members. So we have Talk Up Toastmasters. You've heard about this for the last 2 or 3 months here. It goes from now till the end of March. So you have effectively 5 weeks to proceed with this. And I know many clubs have already taken certain initiatives, held open houses, and things are moving along quite well. I'm very gratified to hear the progress that has been made. Just to recap, during Talk Up Toastmasters, we want to, every club should be bringing in 5 new members. And there are incentives for this that include things like a ribbon, bragging rights, your name in the paper. But most of all, virtue is its own reward, and building membership is every club's own reward. We also have this wonderful new initiative coming from Toastmasters International, the Year of the Wow. We are in it now, and I believe it's a 3-month program versus the 2-month of Talk Up Toastmasters. So I want to talk about that a little bit later in the presentation tonight. I want to just go over some basics of this building your club's membership and why it's important. Well, there are 2 points that you can get in the DCP, as you know, by gaining 8 new members. New members bring a lot of fresh blood, a fresh ear, and a fresh tongue. Hopefully not too fresh in terms of building your club's strength. You have the magnetism that comes from a larger club, because people who visit a club that has 4 members may think, geez, what the heck am I getting into? If you have a club of 20 strong people, and I've seen this just this last week where we had guests at a meeting and one of the guests commented, gee, I didn't think it would be this big of a group. She was very impressed by the vitality of such a large group. So essentially, bigger is better. So then we come to the question of how, and it really boils down to publicity, publicity, publicity. And that's where we need to talk up Toastmasters. Everybody that you meet, you should be talking about Toastmasters too. Yes, even the clerk in the store. We're going to talk a little bit more about this open houses, or what I prefer to call here the special meeting. I also point out that District 45 has a trade show and job fair incentive. And You can find more details on this on our club website. Basically, we will pay up to $250 reimbursement for expenses for a group of clubs to get together and go to a job fair, a trade show, some sort of public exposition. There are certain qualifications. We don't just hand out the check glibly. We need to see information on how many people you think you will reach and how many people are going to participate in this effort from your multiple clubs. It's definitely an effective way to get the word out and gain new members. And I encourage everybody to consider this and look at what is going on in your area, in your division, in your region, and find out what kind of trade shows and job fairs are going on. Another thing you can do is you can have a Speechcraft program. I think Speechcraft is a thing that sometimes brings in members, but also it builds your own member strength. The people that are running the Speechcraft are always excited and energized by seeing new people learn the basic skills of public speaking and Toastmasters. Other things, you can have public meetings, you can have flash mobs. What is a flash mob? Well, you know, I don't really keep up on a lot of the current terminology. I'm an older guy here, but a flash mob would be as a bunch of you went down to the mall and just stood around and had kind of an impromptu meeting, maybe giving famous speeches, Gettysburg Address, something like that to attract attention, and people come up to you and say, hey, what's this all about? You say, it's Toastmasters, here's what we do, and you hand them a flyer, give them information on a meeting. Public service and community projects. Again, this is something that's not part of the core Toastmasters program, but if your club can get involved and get some publicity through participating in some community event, again, this gets the word out. And then we come to the high profile meetings, which are kind of going back to the open house, the special meeting. Invite special guests. It doesn't have to be a Toastmaster. It might be a community leader. Politicians love to talk as much as Toastmasters do, and they can be big draws to get people to come and visit your club. You can also practice what we do by giving speeches at other organizations. There are a lot of organizations, community organizations, there's Rotary clubs, Chamber of Commerce. They're dying to have people speak. If you go in and you give a really great presentation, it doesn't even matter what your subject is on, but if you give a bang up presentation, and do please throw in the word Toastmasters there, but if somebody comes up to you afterward and shakes your hand and says, geez, Olivette, that was a terrific presentation on gardening. Where did you learn to speak so well? Olivette, you would say, at Toastmasters. I think Olivette is muted tonight here, so she wasn't able to respond, so I had to play her role. Make membership prestigious. I heard somebody say a while back here how they were begging people to come to their club. Well, we all do that, but we really shouldn't put it in that way of, gee, we really need members, please join. That is not going to be a strong thing. In India, in China, and in Europe, Toastmasters membership is prestigious. It's an honor. It's something that you can boast about and brag about. And if the more that you feel that way and the more that you project that way, the more it becomes attractive to other people. Member induction ceremonies, do it with a little pizzazz. All the clubs need to be a little more jazzed up some of the time. And we talk about having a fun meeting, but it also needs to be an exciting meeting. And a little bit of ritual, that can go a long way. As I said, be proud of Toastmasters and show it. Wear your membership pin, name drop, hang your ribbons and certificates on your cubicles at work. But really, it boils down to publicity, 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 getting the word out, making sure that you have public service announcements on radios, making sure that you're listed in local media calendars. And this is not just physical papers, because so much of it now is online. Get the word out.
Jonathan, just
yes, ma'am.
A note from Olivette. Actually, that is exactly what I've done when I have presented about gardening. Your comments.
Okay, thank you, Olivette. Yes, and I know that Olivet is a master gardener, and that she has, in fact, given many presentations. She also is a distinguished Toastmaster, past district governor, so I'm sure that she is quite adept at pushing the word of Toastmasters and what we can do. Thank you, Olivet. Wanted to come into this business. Those of you who remember, about a month ago, we sent out a letter to everybody talking about Talk Up Toastmasters, and we pushed a special meeting, and there are three facets that we felt every special meeting should have. One would be a keynote speaker, and for those of you who haven't done this yet, if you've already done it, perhaps you can share some of your success stories with us, but have a keynote speaker, just as we have at our conferences, just as they have at the International Convention. Have somebody special in there. It might be a very qualified speaker from another club in your area. Perhaps it's a qualified speaker from another Toastmasters club not in your area. And perhaps it is even somebody who's not a member, as I said, a politician, a community leader, somebody that's a draw. And for the guests who are there, they see a dynamite speaker. That gives a really good impression. That's when they say, wow. Second, we have many success stories. And if you can have a small panel discussion of 3 or 4 members talking about what they've gained. And I would encourage people on this to talk about the professional aspects of it and focus less on the social networking, because I think primarily most people are not joining Toastmasters for social experience, but because they want to gain the communication and leadership skills that are our trademark. Last is pathways. I know I've said this many times, and you all hear me say it with kind of a bitter tone in my voice of, let's drop the business of what's wrong with pathways. Let's get on with what is really great about pathways. It is a great program, and it is what we have. And it's a tremendous thing to offer. At the special meeting, you're going to be seeing an article in the March newsletter, which will be coming out in a week here, on some tips for open houses, or as I'm calling them here, a special meeting. And in fact, you'll see in there that one of the tips is, rather than call it an open house, call it what it is, a special meeting. Open house kind of gives the impression that people can wander in and wander out and, you know, pick up a drink and a piece of cheese and chat with somebody and then go on their way. The strength of Toastmasters, the essence of Toastmasters, is the formal meeting. So you need to have that meeting format in there. There's a flyer that's available on the TI website that everybody can download and customize. Give this flyer to every member, have them hang them up at work, in their lunchrooms, at their laundromats, if anybody goes to a laundromat, the library, any sort of public bulletin board. Just put the word out there. Another thing that's very important is, as at any meeting, you want to have welcome packets for your guests. Prepare these in advance. Make sure you have plenty of them so that nobody leaves without something to take home with them. The printed word, the take home, the explanations. There's some beautiful flyers and brochures that Toastmasters puts out. Get these, spread them around in your packets. Get these packets out to external outreach sources. That, you know, contact local businesses, local colleges, their HR departments, their deans of student affairs. Get the word out. Got local media, I mentioned that. Solicit other clubs. Ask your former members and past guests. Encourage every member to bring at least one guest, because for all the things that are above this and all the lists and all the flyers that you put out, Toastmasters grows basically one-on-one. And a huge percentage of our members came because somebody invited them. I know that's what happened to me 9 years ago, and I'm not the anomaly. This is a very standard way. bring a guest. If everybody brought a guest, if you have 18 members in your club and 18 guests showed up, imagine the meeting that you would have. Serve refreshments, have, you know, some decorations, make sure it's nice. Plan what you're going to set up is going to be. You don't want guests arriving and people scurrying around to find chairs. If you've got those 18 guests that the 18 members talked about, that I just talked about, plan for that. Have plenty of space for people. We do offer cash on the line for this. Your club can be reimbursed for up to $25. If you have a joint venture open house with 2 or 3 other clubs or 5 clubs in your area, each club can get the $25. We don't hand it out that easily. Again, as with the expo incentive, the job fair incentive, you do need to provide us with pictures and comments and post them on Facebook. That's Talk Up Toastmasters, now through March 31st, playing at a club near you. Now we come to the big excitement part, the wow factor. This is the year of the wow. You'll notice the use of golden here. That's our international president, Lark Doley, says this, everything is a golden opportunity. And indeed, she is a gem, but so is everything that we have to offer in Toastmasters. The Toastmasters, the wow factor, essentially this boils down to invigorating or reinvigorating our clubs so that everyone who comes to a meeting leaves and says to themselves, or to hopefully to somebody else, wow, wasn't that great? For guests, they'll want to come back. For members, they'll say, wow, I'm sorry I missed that last meeting. If all the meetings are like this, I'm going to come. Wow. So to get to this point requires some soul searching. And I know that all of you in the last couple months here had an invitation from Jeff Hebert, our district director, distinguished Toastmaster, on the moments of truth. And this is a brief questionnaire to fill out about your club. And you perhaps have done a moment of truth presentation in your club. It might be also something that your club executive teams look at to figure out where your club stands and why. You have to be brutally honest with this. It's not good to say, well, gee, we have 8 members, but gosh, everybody's really having a good time. That is not enough. You have to say, we have 8 members, we're not doing something quite right. What can we do to improve? You have to cut this knife of introspection rather deeply without being offensive or hurting anybody's feelings, to be sure. But look at this very honestly and say, what are we not doing right? What can we do to improve? You need to do this if you want to succeed. And this is a 3-month initiative here. If you look at the TI website, you'll see in the first month you're supposed to do this, and then you're working on it in the second month, and then the third month you're there. I think that's quite ambitious. And I also think if we can't do it in 3 months, the ball doesn't drop there. Unlike the Talk Up Toastmasters, where the specific membership campaign ends, but just like all membership building efforts and club improvement and self-improvement efforts, this goes on continuously. So there's, again, you can find this on the TI website. There's a club quality checklist, and you can download it. I think the link is showing here. It's not something you're probably going to write down, so better to just go to the TI website, Google, and search for it, and it will show up. This is an expanded version, really, of the moments of truth, and a bit of a hybrid between the moments of truth and your club's success plan. You list where your weaknesses are and what you can do to improve things. There's also, with this, the opportunity to create a video and send it to Toastmasters International. You can read about it on their website. I think it's wonderful. But I also think we can do a little bit with video locally here. And if you've been watching our District 45 Facebook page, you've noticed that several members from Division D, Maine, have been posting their My Whys. And this is a very effective tool, not so much for posting it just on our own Facebook page, but for on your own Facebook page. If Olivet does a My Why, and I'm picking on Olivet, so I'm going to pick on Paul Coddington. If Paul Coddington does a My Why, a 60-second video of why he joined Toastmasters, and he puts that on his page so that his friends who are non-Toastmasters see it, then they say, ah, that's what Paul's been doing. Ah, that's why Paul's such a good speaker. It's getting the word out. And in this day and age, social media is a do your My Why. Do it tonight after you get off this webinar and before you have too much time to let self-doubt creep in. Do it honestly, frankly, do it like a table topic. Say, this is why I joined, this is what I've gotten out of it, and post it. Going back to this business of the wow factor and your club meeting, which you're using as a tool to improve your club atmosphere, retain members, and attract new members, remember what Ralph Smedley said. The two most important factors in Toastmasters are mentoring and evaluations. And I think this is where so many clubs actually fall short. We have new members, we've brought people in, they're very excited, and then we drop the ball. We don't give them any orientation. We maybe casually mention that, yeah, if they want a mentor, they can have one. But we have failed in not having very strong mentoring programs. And I tell you a little story about myself because that's who I talk about best. When I joined Toastmasters, I was very scared. Was not particularly comfortable, and the club at the time was run by Candace Buell, for those of you who know Candace, and Candace said, okay, who's going to be his mentor? Joe Ripley spoke up, and I thought to myself, oh my God. I came to appreciate Joe Ripley so much because within a week, she had not only nailed down when I was going to do my icebreaker, but she nailed down a time when I could talk to her on the phone and go over it and set up a time when I could present in person, standing before an imaginary audience. You need strong mentors to get people going, and it benefits both the protege and the mentor. Same thing with evaluations. The most important part of a Toastmasters meeting is not just giving the speech, it's the evaluation. What kind of feedback are you getting? You need to have strong evaluations so that people can learn and grow. These are two critical items. When we talk about wow, I think if we came out of a meeting and say, wow, I really learned something tonight. And a lot of that comes from the feedback. Final thing is, who is going to do this? You can pass the buck to your club growth director, your division director, your area director, your club president, your club VP PR, but ultimately it boils down to you. And yes, this is the slide you have all seen before from me, and you will see it again, because this is a program that survives on the strength of the individual because it fosters the power of the individual. And our growth comes to you and me contacting the guy in the cubicle next to us at work, the lady next door walking her dog. Invite people to your Toastmasters club. Make it personable and personal. Everybody is a potential member. I wanted to toss in one little thing here because I've got the microphone, and that's dues. As you know, you have to have your dues paid, and the club treasurers have to submit by April 1st for at least 8 members. We are offering some great incentives for clubs that submit 80% of their base members by March 15th. Watch our Facebook page, website, and keep listening for more. And that, my friends, is all I have to say. I could keep talking all night, as you know, but I don't want to put everybody to sleep. Keep talking and make everyone say wow.
Thanks very much, Jonathan. You had a wonderful presentation.
Thank you, Carolyn. And I'm certainly open to questions, comments, disagreements, suggestions.
Just one question. No, I have somebody on the phone. Who is caller 2? Hello? Anybody calling in on the phone?
Yeah. Hi. This is Lori Menard. I have trouble connecting.
That's okay, Lori. No problem.
Okay.
Just trying to. I had accounting for everybody, but I didn't know. There you go. Now I've got you. Okay.
I'm in here twice. Yeah. One of them is on the phone, and one of them's through the web.
Thanks very much. So, does anybody have any comments about Jonathan's thoughts, presentations, questions? Feel free.
Hey, Jonathan. This is Carolyn Handy, and I was thinking about the My Why. Could we post that on the club's Facebook page instead of our own?
Yes, post it in as many places as you possibly want. If you post it on your own page, what I would prefer, Carolyn, and please feel free to argue with me, anybody, but I think if you post it on your own page and then share it to your club page, that way it gets the exposure, because your club page, it may be just a lot of club people looking at it. On the other hand, a lot of people go and Google Toastmasters, and it comes up with a local club, and they'll look at that Facebook page. So either is fine, both is best.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else? I'm sure there are lots of ideas buzzing around in all of our heads. We just got to get them out there, people. So let's go. Anybody else? Jonathan, it's Carolyn. I've got a couple of ideas I'd like to run by you.
Yes.
One thing, you're talking about politicians like to talk. They do. One thing I did, which will be up on Google Docs this week, I created a tree. It's called Toastmasters Tree of Life, which everybody is free to download. It talks about all our skills and the journey of a Toastmaster. On the flip side of that, there are 2 individual pages, but they need to be put back to back, is the skills evaluation and career assessment. Because when I put those 2 together and I showed the politician, his words that came out of our mouth were, "I didn't realize Toastmasters had so much to offer." I said, bingo. Because all the executive positions relate to jobs outside. Taking that thought, moving forward, when we go to Chamber of Commerce, business associations, and what have you, and do PowerPoint, preferably, or lectures, if we showed that to the business communities, I'm sure we would get more of a positive reaction, because the people's eyes light up. They make the connection, and that's so important. Your thoughts? Yes.
I think you had so many good points there, Carolyn, and I think that this is the business of making the connection. And when we talk about making it personal, we customize it. If you're talking to somebody who's looking to advance their career or to get a job, you speak in that language that will bring them in. If you're talking to somebody who wants to run for office in their small town, or a large city, you preach to them or speak to them about how Toastmasters does that. If you're talking to somebody who says, "I need to join because my sister is getting married and I'm going to have to give a toast," speak on that level. And thank you very much. And I look forward to seeing that up on Google Drive. And when it is up, make sure you broadcast it on our Facebook page.
Sure. It's going to be in the newsletter. The link will be in the newsletter.
Okay, beautiful. That's good.
The other thing I wanted to mention, and it's a thought that's come up recently, it doesn't fall into the time frame between now and the end of our year, but coming up this summer is for clubs to get together in an open area, i.e. a park. That we do a barbecue, but all the Toastmasters bring their families. They're responsible for their own food. But we put together not necessarily speeches for speeches, but speeches about Toastmasters, maybe discussions, maybe role-playing. Add to the speech, not make it its own entity, to showing the diversity.
Yes,
so
excellent idea.
If we get, like in our case, as an example, we have Dartmouth and Halifax, and we're separated by a bridge. But if we got all the Toastmasters together in Halifax, Dartmouth did the same. So people don't have to go too far, and they can make a great day of it. I think we need to get out in the general public more. That's just my own personal feeling.
Yes, no, you're 100% right on that, and that's publicity, that's visibility, getting the word out there, letting people know who we are and what we do. And you're also hitting something very true here. I talked about what's going on here in February and March, but this is an ongoing effort or struggle, depending on how you look at it. And summertime is a wonderful time to get out there and do things like this. Be visible, be practical, get the word out. That's wonderful. Thank you, Carolyn.
Thank you. Also,
I have a message here. Yes.
Also, it gets us together as Toastmasters, and we get to see people maybe we haven't seen in a long time or never seen, and we get to share our own ideas to help her.
Yeah.
Well.
Yes, and that's, I think that comes back to this self-analysis that we should constantly be working on for our clubs. And when you see people, as you said, people you haven't seen, that's a wonderful time to exchange fresh ideas.
Anybody else with any?
Audrey,
sorry.
Audrey DaCosta has a question here, and I'm wondering, Audrey, can we unmute you so that you could actually speak? I guess not. So Audrey says, moments of truth. How can you get members to? Are you there, Audrey?
I am, yes.
Good. Okay. If you would give us your question, it's much nicer to hear your very sweet voice.
Thank you. So going back to the moments of truth, bringing it back to the club, how do you get members? I mean, the members are the one filling this out. How do you get them to realize, like, this is what we all think of our club?
Well, I think one thing you could do on that, Audrey, is that it's in the Successful Club series, I believe, or is it a standalone item of the Moments of Truth presentation? This would be an excellent one.
It is one of the modules in that Successful Club series.
Yeah, that would be a wonderful one for somebody to present. Specifically, a club officer, I would think, would be ideal, somebody who understands what they're looking for, and present that and emphasize in that exactly what you're saying.
Okay. And then there's always that follow-up. And I know when we all become members of our club, we all know the membership oath that we take, that we're going to help the club, we're going to help individuals, we're going to move forward. But the question I always get brought back is, well, I need to focus on my job that gives me my paycheck. So it's
Yes, I think, and that's, that certainly is something that you cannot argue with. And the best that you can say to that is something along the lines, I mean, you could be catty and say, well, your paycheck is probably going to get bigger if you come to the clubs and empower yourself more. But
I've got a suggestion.
Probably, yeah.
Audrey, I would just tell them yes and. Yes, you need to focus on your work, and personal growth comes when you're able to do your job and do just a little bit more. What is that just a little bit more that you can do within your Toastmasters club that'll improve your skills that directly apply to your work and your business? That follows right on to what Jonathan said. Do that and you will improve your ability to do your job and get better pay.
great. Thank you.
And I thank you for that, Jeff. I think that was very good. There is also a point when sometimes you are not going to get the help that you want from somebody. And while you can offer encouragement and hope that it works, you also have to take a little bit of caution not to disagree with them or something so that they say, well, forget it, I'm leaving. And if you ask somebody to do something and they say, I really can't, find somebody else at a certain point. That may be necessary as a fallback.
Okay. All right. I just feel, because if they, like the moments of truth, if you were just really truthful when asked to do certain things and gave, no, I can't do that right now, can you get someone else to do it, instead of, oh, that sounds great, I would love to do that, and then you send out 15 emails, a phone call, a text message, and there's no response back, then what do you do?
Audrey, I'm going to say something that I shouldn't say. And this is former division director to current division director. You beat your head against the wall. You say, this is really frustrating. Why am I doing this? And then you say, I'm going out and take a walk. Take a walk. Get away from it. Breathe. Come back. Look at the good people that are working with you. And in time, you will see that this stretching of yourself expands you far beyond what you're even imagining that it is in the moment. And I mean that totally sincerely. What you go through as division director and what people go through as club presidents and any officer, there are moments of frustration. There can be weeks of frustration. At the end, when you look back at it, you are going to say, wow, I had no idea what I gained.
That's what I'm hoping.
I guarantee it.
Don't give up hope, Audrey. One other thing I would suggest is that to fully appreciate the difference between effectiveness and efficiency. It is highly efficient to send out 15 emails to 15 people because it only takes you a few minutes to write them, but it takes less than a second for them to delete them. It's a lot more effective to get those folks on the phone. That takes more of your time. It is definitely harder for you, but it's really the only way to get people on board with, especially with a new initiative. Our district, by the way, our district strategy is we send out information about upcoming roles. We put it in the newsletter. We send out blast emails. In fact, I can pretty much tell you Carolyn had this very experience where she was writing articles in the newsletter for months and not getting any response. When you start getting response is when you start getting people on the phone, get them on webinars, get them, even better, get them face-to-face and talk with them about the opportunities and challenges and how they can benefit by becoming part of your team. sorry, I diverted you guys a little bit, but this is a great topic, and I think it fits very well with what makes our clubs have a wow experience. One of the challenges I see is that we distribute sign-up sheets, or we ask people to go to our website and sign up for roles, and yet, just like your experience, Audrey, folks don't do it. And so you come to the meeting, half the roles aren't filled out, no one really knows what's going on, and that detracts from the wow experience. But if you have the Toastmaster of the day or the VP Ed on the phone calling folks saying, hey, you're signed up for the next week, and making sure that the roles are filled in advance, then that enhances that wow moment, and that makes the meeting all the much better.
Can I put in an idea in here? Audrey, in my club, what we do is we have a sign-up sheet at the meeting, but then the VP Ed will send an email around saying, here are the roles that need to be filled, and then we respond. And that seems to work for our club.
Yeah, I do that as well. I'm VP of Ed in my club, and I think I just need to get on the phone, because I've sent an email out the 5 days after our last meeting, and I just sent another email out yesterday for a meeting coming this Wednesday, and no response. So I think making that phone call is just what it's going to have to be.
Maybe you're right, and then just wake everybody up, and then it'll transfer back to the emails after everybody's awake. You know what I mean?
Yes.
One thing that's great is VP Ed. You can pull the reports and look at who's filled roles recently and who hasn't done a particular role in, say, 6 months or ever. And you can call that person and say, hey, we have an opportunity for you. I know that you have never been an evaluator before. This is your chance. So-and-so is a good speaker. It should be fairly easy for you to do an evaluation. There you go. When can I sign you up?
Yeah. Thank you.
That works for other roles too, like finding area directors and getting folks to run TLIs or contests or whatnot.
Thanks, Jeff, for your input. That's great. Does anybody else have any questions or thoughts that they'd like to say?
I do. This is the other Carolyn. And I had an idea when John was talking about the panel discussion, where 3 or 4 members share what they've gained from Toastmasters. For the publicity, what we could do is give a description. Let's say the panel discussion will include an accountant, a quilt maker, a college professor, and give a sentence about each person but not have their name. And then people will be wondering who these people are. And that would, I would think, make it more interesting to come to the panel discussion, and then they would discover who these people are. What do you think?
I think that's beautiful, Carolyn. I think that's exactly the way to approach it. And when you said have an accountant and have a quilt maker, that is the best idea, because then you are appealing to those people who are looking for just a specific professional goal, or perhaps looking at the quilt maker. Somebody's a quilt maker and they say, well, you know, I'm not really going to be giving presentations to a board of directors, but as a quilt maker, I can relate to that. As a craftsperson, I can relate to that. And so the broader that you can have the spectrum of the 3 to 4 people on there, and yes, absolutely identify them by position, not by name, because that does add a little bit of mystery to it. So that's a wonderful idea, Carolyn.
Okay, thank you.
You said that's a neat idea. I second. Jonathan's
And I'm
Carolyn.
also,
Oh,
yes,
sorry.
yes.
Here's another thought I plan on initiating in the next couple of months. When we have these special meetings / open house, talking about timing, particularly with business groups and chambers, is to do a 1-2 step where before the special meeting you do a presentation as an example for the chamber, and you jump through all the hoops and you say, by the way, we're having a special meeting on such and such a date, and you hand them your business card as well as the flyers so that they know where to go and what to do. They don't guess about what club is it or where do I go. And you could get a couple of other groups in with you to do that presentation so that everybody has a stake in it.
Yes, I think that the last words there that I would reflect back is everybody having a stake in it. And the more that people feel that they own something, the more they will participate to their fullest extent. And I just have a question here that has popped up from Maju saying, should at least 8 members be signed up before 15th of March? In order to get the incentive that we're talking about, we would want 80% of your base Maju in there. The 8 is the minimum that you need to have by April 1st, but let's set our hopes and our goals higher than the minimum, because after all, we are really all about excellence. And part of our district mission is to support all clubs in achieving excellence.
So we have about 10 minutes left. Does anybody else have any questions or thoughts for Jonathan? Jonathan, do you have any more comments?
I do not. I thank everybody for attending. I thank people for listening and for the comments and the discussion. These pieces are what makes Toastmasters very alive for me. And I appreciate the work and the enthusiasm that everybody here has projected. I look forward to seeing great success in terms of membership. I look forward to hearing everybody saying wow, and watching their numbers and their clubs grow and thrive. So thank you.
Jonathan, would anybody like to, we have 10 minutes, would anybody have a discussion between people who are calling in and online? About what they do in their clubs, what they find works for them. Jeff alluded a little while ago to me doing I have an article called Calling All VPMs, trying to create a network of VPMs within our district so we can all communicate on a different level. With limited response, to be quite honest. But I'm going to the conference in May, and I'm looking forward to meeting the other half of my family, because that may make a big difference because nobody knows me. So I'm hoping that meeting and talking to people, like Audrey was saying, will make the difference, and I can get more motivation from people in our wonderful family. So looking forward to seeing the American side.
Yes, thank you, Carolyn. If we do have a couple minutes here, I would like to show everybody a video So Carolyn, if I could ask you to stop sharing my screen momentarily, I'd hook up that video. It takes about 1 minute and 2 seconds of your time, but I think it's quite enlivening and enlightening regarding the wow factor.
No problem. Will do.
Okay, thank you. Just bear with me. This is taking a little bit longer than I had wanted.
Want to know where this smile comes from? I got it.
Carolyn, if you could start sharing my screen, I will play the video from Toastmasters.
Want to know where this smile comes from? I got it at my Toastmasters Club. My time with fun and inspiring people in a place where mentorship and friendship thrive. But what really keeps me coming back? The funny speeches and feedback. At every meeting, we aim for lots of laughter. And that's the wow of my
Not getting anything, Jonathan.
Now, tell us your story through video and show us the wow factor of your Toastmasters experience. Is it the humor? The place where you meet? The things you celebrate? The interests you share? We want to know how your club wow. Use your phone to film and post a 1-minute video of what makes your Toastmasters Club so great and different using #WowFactor. Most of all, have fun with it. And wow it.
Jonathan?
Yes, ma'am. Did people see and hear that? Carolyn?
Hearing only.
Hearing
Yeah,
only.
I could hear it,
Okay.
but not see.
Huh. Well,
On the screen?
I'm just going to...
The screen or the video?
Yeah.
Which one? Just a minute. Okay, let's go back to this. Okay.
I'm sorry. That may be my fault that I didn't have screen checked here. I don't think I shared. So if you want me to play it again, if people have
Yes.
time just to listen. Okay.
Go for it. Toastmasters wow factor.
Want to know where this smile comes from? I got it at my Toastmasters Club. My time with fun and inspiring people in a place where mentorship and friendship thrive. But what really keeps me coming back? The funny speeches and
Why don't you
feedback.
pause it, Jonathan?
At
We need
every
to see your
meeting,
screen
we
before you
aim for
start playing.
lots of laughter. And
It's
that's
not even
the
got
wow
that far.
of my Toastmasters. Now, tell us your story through video and show us the wow factor of your Toastmasters experience. Is it the humor?
There we
The
go.
place where you meet? The things you celebrate? The interests you share? We want to know how your club wow. Use your phone to film and post a 1-minute video of what makes your Toastmasters Club so great and different using #WowFactor. Most of all, have fun with it. And wow it.
I hope everybody did get to see that. If not, you can find it online under the wow factor. And I think that says it all. Have fun with it and wow.
We did get to see it, Jonathan. That was great, but we can go back on TMI site and see it again. Thank you very much,
Yes.
Jonathan, again, for your wonderful presentation. And thank you for everyone attending, and we'll look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. Have a great time. Bye for now.
Super. Thank you, Carolyn. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Jonathan.